All right, let's take a look at the typical marine electrician's hand toolkit. On the lower left-hand side of the screen, we have 2 meters. It's usually good to have two. You might lose one, you might blow out a fuse in one, or lose a battery, and sometimes you need to do some troubleshooting on battery systems. To the left of the red meter, we have an inductive amp meter. We'll talk more about that in the future. They're for measuring higher amperages than the meter will allow, and typically used for engine troubleshooting. To the right of the red meter, we have a set of test leads with alligator clips. They're cheap to make, they're easy to make, practicing your soldering and your heat shrinking. Make two, make four, make long ones, short ones. They generally will do a good job of replacing the $60 or $70 test lead kit in the black pouch above the meters. To the right of the test lead kit, we have some hand tools, a couple screwdrivers that live in the bag, and also pay special attention to your diagonal cutters. You're going to be using those a lot. Below the hand tools, we have our ratchet crimpers, our 5-in-1 electrician's tool, and our wire cutters. And of course, a spool of wire and a tape measure will suit you handily. All right, let's talk about the tools we use to make connections, strip insulation, and cut wire. On the lower left side of the screen, we have our black-handled 4-in-1 crimper stripper combination tool. They're also used to cut wire. The ones next to them, the red handle 4-in-1s, those are a cheaper version. They're for stranded or non-stranded wire, your type 1 wire. Generally, if you cut insulation back and you see a couple strands of the wire come out with the insulation, they're for non-stranded or type 1 wire. They shouldn't be used. You don't want to cut any of those strands out when you make a crimp. The blue handle crimpers in the center of the screen are nice Klein tools, but they're for non-insulated terminals. Those shouldn't be used either. We only use insulated terminals in marine electrical installation. The yellow handle strippers, same thing, non-stranded or type 1 wire, says it right on the tooth. And the blue handle automatic strippers, I've had trouble getting adjusted. I prefer the black, strippers on the left side. And then above them all are our red handle ratchet crimpers, which we'll talk about next. All right, let's talk about the ratchet crimpers. These are the tool professionals use to make a consistent crimp in a double barrel connector. We'll talk about the difference between double and single barrel and PVC and nylon connectors next, but these are what we use to get just a consistent product when we're making crimps. Okay, notice the release lever in the center. When you open a crimp, or when you open the crimpers and you start making a crimp, you can't open them until the crimp has been made unless you hit that lever. If the connections you're getting are too loose or they're destroying the connectors, you can adjust the pressure on the jaws with the adjustment in the center of the screen. And also notice the removable crimping dies. You can actually put in there coax crimpers, an assortment of different types of cable crimpers. And note these for double barrel terminals, the different colors for different size terminals. This dot should face the unstripped insulation. So this dot should be on the far side of the ring part of your ring terminal. These are available for about $40 or $50 from a reputable marine electrical supplier. Okay, now let's talk about the difference between insulated versus non-insulated crimpers. On the left, we see insulated crimpers. These are for making crimps of red, green, or blue, and yellow terminals. The ones on the right are called tooth-type crimpers, and those are for making bare terminal connections, which we don't use in marine electrical installation. When you pull back a panel on a boat, you're kind of a forensic electrician, if you will, where you can see if the installer used ratchet-type crimpers, insulated crimpers, or non-insulated crimpers, and it's going to tell you about the rest of the installation and kind of what to expect. So be aware of that, and when you purchase your tools, if they're not ratchet crimpers, make sure you get insulated crimpers. Here's a close-up of them, and we can see the colors. With these, it doesn't matter which side you crimp, facing toward the ring terminal or away, but if you're using double barrel connectors, you have to crimp twice, one for the wire first, and one for the insulation second. And after this, we have a close-up of the tooth-type crimpers. If you have these in the garden, shed, probably try not to use them for marine electrical installation because, like we said, we use insulated terminals. And now let's get into the perfect crimp. Happy crimping. Okay, to make a proper crimp, we first have to start with a wire that's properly sized to the ring terminal we're going to be crimping to. This is 12 gauge wire and it's sized to a 10-12 gauge terminal, so we're set there. Next, we cut back our insulation off the wire, so when we put the terminal into the end, we see just a little bit of wire sticking out. Notice these terminals have two barrels, if you will, two stages, one that crimps the wire and one that crimps onto the insulation. If you're using a pinch type crimpers, you should crimp this twice. Ratchet type, you only have to crimp it once with the double barrel ratchet crimpers. So here it's in the crimpers, and we close the handle until the handles will open again, and when we do, voila. And here we have one perfect crimp. Notice there's a little teeny bit of wire sticking out of the ring side of the ring terminal and no bare wire sticking out of the back of the terminal. Our next step is to follow up with the ABYC pulling force table for this particular gauge wire. You can use a fish scale, so hook the fish scale onto the ring terminal and pull it until it meets the appropriate pounds for that terminal that you're testing. Another thing you can do is get with a friend and use butt splices. You each crimp your side of the splice and you pull, and whoever's fails first, they have to buy lunch that day. Okay, this is how to make a perfect crimp. So get a box of 100 cheap terminals and crimp until you're comfortable with it. Happy crimping.